This is the MathGalaxy Pre-Algebra Fun tutorial, which covers all of middle school math, including these topics. And in this video, we'll be looking at negative numbers and absolute value. Okay, so let's review negative numbers. Thermometers are an example of a measuring instrument that has positive and negative numbers. On a Celsius thermometer, 0 is the freezing point of water, and temperatures below that are called below zero. Temperatures above it are positive. On a number line, numbers to the left, to the right of 0 are positive, to the left of 0 are negative. Scales such as this can be used to measure things like distances above or below sea level, or money that you have versus money that you owe. You already know how to add positive numbers. So if the temperature goes up 30 degrees by noon, up another 20 degrees by 6 p.m., and then another 10 degrees by 7 p.m., then the temperature is 60 degrees. Or it could be money that you earn on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You just add the values. If all the numbers are negative, you also add them. If the temperature starts at 0 degrees and then goes down 10 degrees by noon, then another 10 degrees by 3 o'clock, and another 5 degrees by 6 o'clock, it ends up being 25 degrees below zero. Or this could be money that you owe. You owe 10 to Alice, another 10 to Bob, and another 5 to Carol. So if the signs are the same, you add them and keep the sign. If you have opposite signs, the rule is you subtract their absolute values and take the sign of the larger. For example, if the temperature goes up 40 degrees from 0, and then it goes down 70 degrees by noon, well, 40 of that 70 gets you back to 0, and then the other 30 takes you to 30 below. So again, you subtract their absolute values. This 40 cancels out 40 of that, and take the sign of the larger. So you have 30 of the negative still left. And then if the temperature goes up 10 degrees from there, that 10 degrees cancels out 10 of this, leaving 20 negatives. So again, you subtract their absolute value. 30 minus 10 is 20, and take the sign of the larger. So instead of going left to right, you can also collect all the positive numbers together and all the negative numbers together and do one final combination. So here 40 plus 10 is 50, only one negative number. So subtracting the absolute values gives us 20, and you take the sign of the larger. So in these examples, the numbers are changes, and the answer is the final position. So for example, if the temperature goes up 80 degrees and then down 20 degrees, the final temperature is 60. Or if you go up 80 feet up a mountain and down 20 or 60 feet from the base. Another way to think about the minus sign is about a change. If the temperature goes from 20 to 80, there's a change of 60. And that's called the comparison model of subtraction. But you can also think of it as a distance, the distance from here to here. So, I mean, if you keep your purpose in mind, it's easy to keep these two purposes straight. Where it becomes more challenging is if you're subtracting a negative. The mathematician's rule is that you change the sign of the number and add. So 80 minus a minus 20 becomes 80 plus 20, or 100. In terms of the distance model, you can think of this as going from negative 20 to 80, going from 20 degrees below 0 to 80 degrees above. Well, the change involves getting back to 0, which is an increase of 20, and then another 80. So those were the rules for adding and subtracting with negative numbers. For multiplication and division, if you have one negative and one positive, the product is negative. It's like if you had a debt of 2 and you repeat that 5 times, you have a total debt of 10. If you have two negatives multiplied together, the result is positive. If you have 3 negatives, the result is negative. So it's like these two negatives gives you a positive 15, but positive 15 times a negative 2 is like positive times a negative or negative. If you have 4 negatives, the result is positive. So like these two give you a positive 12, these two give you a positive 10, which gives you 120. So the basic shortcut is that an even number of negatives involved with multiplication or division is positive, a non-number of negatives is negatives. So like for division, 8 divided by a negative 2, one negative is a negative 4. Negative 8 divided by negative 2, an even number of negatives, so it's 4. So any combination of multiplication and division, if you have an odd number of negatives, the result is negative. So note that this just applies to multiplication and division. If there's any addition and subtraction involved in there, you have to be careful. For example, here, the safest way is to follow the order of operations and do subproblems. So if you remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, you do what's inside parentheses as if they're a separate problem. So here 5 minus 8 is a minus 3. 9 minus 2 is 7. We keep the negative sign. 6 minus 2 is 4. Minus 4 minus 6 is a minus 10. We keep that subtraction. And 7 minus 6 is 1 plus 9 is 10. There's no exponents, so now we go to the multiplication. And you can treat this division line sort of like a parentheses in that you want to do everything above and below before you do the final division, unless everything is strictly multiplication and division. But here we have subtraction, so we want to do these separately. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Keep the subtraction sign. 4 times 7 is 28. Negative times a negative is a positive 20. Subtract 10. Negative 12 minus 28 is minus 40. 20 minus 10 is 10. We do the division. 1 negative. That's negative. For example, here the temperature now is 27 degrees. The temperature this morning was minus 9 degrees. What was the change in temperature from this morning to now? So we went from minus 9 to 27 degrees. So you can think of that as a change or distance problem, where we started to where we ended. And distance represented by the subtraction sign. So it's a minus of a minus, which makes it a positive, and then we add. 27 plus 9 is 36. So we had to go up 9 degrees to get us to 0, plus another 27 to get us to a total change of 36 degrees. Here, the temperature now is minus 19 degrees, and the temperature this morning was minus 24 degrees. What was the change in temperature from this morning to now? So you're going from minus 24 degrees to minus 19. So you're going from and to, so you could set up in the distance or subtraction format. So, but a minus of a minus makes it a positive. So minus 19 plus 24. Opposite signs we subtract. So it's 5, and we take the sign of the larger, which makes it positive. So we went up 5 degrees from minus 24 to minus 19. The absolute value of a number is its distance from 0. So the absolute value of a positive 30 is 30, but the absolute value of a negative 30 is also 30 because it's a distance of 30 from 0. The absolute value operation is indicated by two vertical lines. You take the positive value of what's inside the vertical lines. For example, here, absolute value of negative 5 is 5, adding 2 is 7. So here we have to do the operation inside the vertical lines. Negative 12 plus 10 is a negative 2, and then we take the absolute value, which is 2. This has been a review of negative numbers and absolute value brought to you by MathGalaxy.com. Thank you for listening.